Doom, 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 doom. She heard a knock at the door. Should she get it or not? Sarah was unsure. After hours of being huddled up under the bed, clutching on to her baby brother, she could hardly move a muscle. The bad guys are going to come and they will try to get in. You lock the main door and hide under the bed upstairs. And please stay close to Kevin. Do not turn on the lights. Do not answer the door. If it's me or Papa, we will knock 3 times and then wait and then knock 3 times again. Take care of Kevin, my love. That is all her mother had managed to utter before her father had whisked her away. Was Mummy crying? Sarah could not tell. All she knew was that she had to take care of Kevin till they are back. Sarah thought how her life has changed since her 5th birthday. She would go to school, play in the evenings, go for an occasional picnic with Betty and her family. At dinner, she had heard her mom and dad talk about how the bad guys are trying to steal their land. She did not understand who was trying to steal their small garden. Whoever it was, she hated them. And then she would slowly drift into the land of fairies and princesses in the arms of her mother. And then one day, it all changed. First, Mummy had Kevin. Yes, she loved the baby, but Mummy wasn't the same again. She would spend more and more time with Kevin. She would not tell her stories. Papa's stories she did not like. And then one day, school closed down. No one told her why. That night, she heard fireworks. Sarah wanted to go out and watch, but Papa locked the main door and turned off all the lights. They sat in the dark all evening, and Mummy made sure that Kevin does not cry. There were more fireworks and flashes and bangs, but Papa would not even let her go to the window. She felt angry. Papa never quite understood her the way Mummy did. But now Mummy had Kevin. And then it started happening every evening. The same fireworks and flashes, and one more evening spent in darkness. They all had dinner by the candlelight. Mummy never made her favorite pudding anymore. Mummy and Papa talked about going somewhere else. She did not want to go. She loved it here. Will Betty and her parents come with us? She had asked one day. Papa did not answer, and Mummy looked away. This was strange. Mummy would always look at her whenever she asked anything. Was she crying? Sarah could not tell in the darkness. She wanted to know where Betty was. Why doesn't she come out to play? But she did not want to make Mummy sad, so she did not ask again. That day was different. The fireworks had started right from the morning, and as she peeked through the window, she could see men in uniform scurrying up and down that neighborhood. She had never seen so much activity on the town road. They were carrying men and women who were still asleep in their bed. Most men had what looked like guns. Sarah got scared. She ran to her parents. Mummy and Papa were getting ready to go somewhere. She did not want to stay here alone. She cried. She tugged at their clothes. She even refused to brush her teeth. All Mummy was saying, "My brave girl, we will get you soon." And she did not look at her when she said it. Mummy still looked pretty in her black dress. She loved to watch her when she got dressed. Papa was looking all over the cupboard, picking up some random pieces of paper. And then they left. Sarah strained her ears to listen for any further knocks. She had forgotten to count the number of knocks she had heard the first time. She was afraid. She was hungry. It was dark outside now. She could not tell how many hours it had been since her parents had left. Kevin was mostly asleep, sometimes crying, and then falling back asleep again. Just after her parents had left, she had heard fireworks close to their house. She heard a shout. Was it her papa? She could not say for sure. The door was locked. The windows were closed. Maybe she had heard someone else. Sarah waited. The silence was killing her now. She wanted to hear the second knock, but it would not come. Boom! And then she heard a bang. Someone broke open the main door. She heard heavy footsteps coming upstairs. Tick, 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 tick. They came into her room, and then one man knelt down. He flashed a bright light into her eyes. Sarah sat up on her bed. 20 years down, she would still live through that night every once in a while. It got her agitated. She sneaked to the next room to catch a glimpse of the man, hopefully asleep. She wanted to wake him up, shake him violently, and ask him those questions. What happened to my parents? Was it you who pulled the trigger that day? She stopped. After all, he had been the only father that Kevin had always known, and she had come to accept. Take care of Kevin were her mummy's last words after all. The battle had been long lost. Their town was now part of a different country, a nation whose army George had served faithfully for years. But to her and Kevin, he had been a father since. His stories were better than the ones Papa used to tell her. He still looked the same, the face that had shown the torch on their faces. A few more scars, a bit of grey at the top, but the same intensity and compassion behind those now closed eyelids. Sarah smiled as she slowly went back to her room. She did not want to ask those questions. She did not want the fairy tale to end. No, not again.
The following story won the second position in the story writing competition at Echelon in 2019-20. However, while the other position winners were able to recite their stories, we were not able to get Purvita to tell us her story. So, in her place, I am reciting the story as written by Purvita, the story that won the second position in Echelon 2019-2020. Here we go. She heard a knock at the door. Should she get it or not? Sarah was unsure. After hours of lying crumpled up in a trembling ball on her bed, she finally heard it. Gently climbing down, clutching Winkles, her pink teddy bear, tightly in her arms, and treading softly on the floorboards as if a single crick could cause everything around her to explode, she headed towards the doorknob. With her face puckered up, eyes almost closed, and barely facing the door, Sarah opened it. And on the other side, she saw Puri's eyes were not closed at all. In fact, they were wide open and expectant. She saw what? What was it? She asked impatiently. After a moment's silence came the reply, Nothing. Nothing? Frowned the perplexed 6 year old. But wasn't there a monster? No monster at all, dear. There was just the warm glow of the lights flooding the corridor outside her bedroom. Puri stayed quiet. You see, that monster you think hides in your closet at night really just hides in your mind. There are no monsters at all. There is nothing to be scared of. Open the door like Sarah and you'll see for yourself. The sweetest little grin lit up the girl's face. All right, she giggled. I'll show you that monster does exist. That's right, little one. Peary had been playing in the park one afternoon when she had seen the old man sitting quietly on a bench, smiling through his wrinkles at her, with an unfailing tenderness in her eyes. When she had come up to sit with him, it hadn't taken long for them to strike up a conversation. Hiya, I'm Peary. What's your name? Hello there, Peary. Well, you can tell me the storyteller. The story, what? Peary had gurgled squeezingly. After a hearty laugh came the reply. Call me Story then. Just Story. Okay, Story. Can we be friends? Yes, of course. But we have to be secret friends. You must not tell anyone we are friends now. Pinky promise? Said Story. Peary made this very special promise. When it was time to leave, she bid him goodbye and hoped to see him again the next day. Story watched after her in happiness. A good couple of minutes later, he got up, strolled slowly out of the park, and soon reached a large house with windows looking into the living room. Every year, around this time, John would start feeling a little down. He wouldn't smile much, and his conversations would start becoming terse. Sally, his wife, and Peary, his daughter, were sitting with him on the sofa, probably watching a show on the television. Story looked at them, smiled wistfully, waited a little, and then left. The next evening, he looked down the path from his bench as Peary kept skipping along, smiling brightly. I pulled the door, and there was nothing was there. Peary squealed excitedly. I told this monster it wasn't real. Good job, Peary. Well done. Noticing a tiffin box she was carrying, Story said, Peary? Yes. What is that you have in your little box there? Oh, you want some? Grandma came home and she made apple pie, said Peary, extending the box. Story swallowed quietly. Sure, Peary, I would love some pie. After taking a bite, he closed his eyes, savoring the taste of his juicy apples and the flaky crust. A kind of serenity spread across his face. Your grandma is a good cook, huh, Peary? He smiled. They talked for a while more that evening and all the evenings of the following week. To Story, Peary made the breeze feel more calming, the sunset look more vibrant, and the stars shine brighter. But one day, when Peary came to talk to Story, she saw him sitting rather morose on his usual bench. Story, you look sad, said Peary as she stared at him, waiting for his reply. I must apologize, dear one. I haven't told you everything about me. You see, I come from a place far, far away, and I must return tomorrow. Today may well be the last time you see me, Peary. Peary's face sank. But I thought we would be friends forever and ever. I dearly want that too, Peary, but alas, I cannot stay. Do me a favor and give your daddy this pen tomorrow. Keep it carefully, Peary, and tell him you found it in an old drawer. Remember, we are secret friends, right? You know my dad? Asked Peary, very surprised. Yes, you'll hear that story one day. You may not remember me then, but I will always remember you. Peary, you have given me more than I could have asked for. Their conversation was minimal that day. When it was time to leave, Peary plodded along instead of skipping jubilantly. As she approached the park's gate, she looked back towards the bench, but Stowy had left too soon. The next day, Peary's world became engulfed in school and homework. She came back home and fell asleep till it was time for dinner. Guess what, Peary? We are ordering dinner tonight, and there is going to be cake, said John. Yeah, Daddy, is it your birthday? Asked Peary, jumping up and down. Not mine, your Grandpa Ben's. Oh, I haven't seen him. Where is he? But before John could answer, Peary screamed, The pen! She scurried up to her bedroom, withdrew the pen from under the pillow, and ran downstairs to give it to John. Wherever did you get this from, Peary? John asked, not able to believe his eyes. I found it in a drawer, Daddy. Peary's grandmother, Marine, came in and stopped in her tracks. Well, what do you know? Didn't he give it to you when you were a kid, John? John smiled. For the first time in a long time, a smile took birth in his heart, traveled all the way up to his cheeks, and made his eyes squint. I thought I had lost this for good. You really can't explain things sometimes, he muttered. Oh, John, he would have loved telling Peary his marvelous stories, just like he told you when you were a little boy. Ah, if only he had lived another 2 days, he would have been able to hear his granddaughter's first cry, said Marine. In the months before she was born, Jane only talked about how she could not wait to see her. That night, as they ate dinner, the evening breeze seemed more calming. The stars shined brighter, and their hearts weighed lighter. A little later, as John was drawing the curtains, he thought he saw someone looking at their house from across the street. But as she looked closer through the window, he realized he must have been mistaken. It's just the neighbor's car. There was no one else there. Thank you.